Ba-dum-bum-bum. Windy pig, oh, windy, 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 windy pig.
Right, forgive the mess on the bench. Just doing the rocker cover up a little bit, just trying to take some of the horrible patina off it. Not too much because I quite like patina, but just getting the majority of it off, just so it doesn't look quite so disgusting. But while that's all sort of sitting in some guck, I'm just going to set the timing on the points here. So there's three things you desperately need for doing timing on the points. You need feeler gauges. Well, you need the right feeler gauge for your points, but right sets the way to go. You need a way of knowing when the points are open or closed. I've got my own little machine I made here. It's just a battery and a buzzer and a couple of wires. And when it's on, when there's a connection, you get that horrible noise. When it's not, it's easy enough. So that's what you need. And then the third thing is just a decent torch, just so you can see what's going on. So I'll move down here and I'll see how much of this I can show you. So I've skipped a couple of steps on this because I was already working for us at the video. So we were just going to set the points timing, but as this is open, I thought I'd show you just in case you're interested in cam timing as well. So you'll have to get your book out to do this, but if you get your book out, it'll tell you go to cam timing or cam chain installation, somewhere in the book, and it'll tell you three critical bits of information. One, at what position the engine wants to be in. Two, what marks you're looking for on the cam wheels. And three, where those marks should be. So for some bikes like my 550, the Trumpet and other bikes like that, you set the cam wheels up at top dead centre. This one, like many others as well, there will be a mark, timing mark. In this one, the timing mark is in here. It's exactly the same place where the time marks for doing the spark is. So we look in this hole, awkward, you can just see there's a little T, a little line, and then on the top piece, the second three piece there, there's another line. It's too bright in it. That's better. So you've got a T and a line and another line, and you line them up, and that's the timing mark for this bike. Once you've done that, what this bike calls for is marks on the cam wheels. Some will just be lines in exhaust, but again, you have to check your book. For this one, on the exhaust cam wheel, there's a little number 1 and an arrow just there. That one lines up. That little arrow should be level with, perpendicular to, or what's perpendicular? Is it perpendicular? Yeah, whatever it is. But level with the casing. So you can see that's all right. I mean, it's a funny angle to get the picture in, but that arrow should be level with the case. There's a second mark on this exhaust cam wheel, and it's a little number 2, and that points to a roller. And then to set the timing on the intake cam wheel, you count 20 rollers on the chain, and you put that 20th roller pointing to number 3 there. See the little arrow? Number 3. And that is then those two wheels lined up so that they are in the right position. And those wheels obviously turn the cams, which move your valves, open and close your valves. But that's cam timing. It can be more involved because you've got to, if you want to change it, you've got to take the chain off, which means taking, for this bike, one tightener here, tensioner, and there's also a tensioner on the front of the back of the engine here. You'll have various different ways of doing things, but there'll always be at least one cam chain tensioner to be removed before you do anything else. You have to take cam caps off. You have to take the cam cover off. This sort of work, it's important you're careful with it. So, like, cam covers are quite fragile, they're quite thin. When you're taking them off, it's important that you undo them in the right order because they go through heat cycles and stuff. And they're quite tightly tightened down. They're quite thin. So if you undo one end first for the other end, you can get a warp, you can get cracks. Same with these cam caps. These are not only are these marked so that they match a cam, but they're also in a position. So these are machined, or very often, especially in these high RPM engines, these cam caps are machined to the cams themselves, camshafts themselves. So you can't Like I said, this one's a B, this one's a D. It says on the top of them here. You couldn't put, well, you could put a B where the D is and vice versa, but then you get a problem where they're not machined to work in that way, and that can cause problems. So you've got to be careful that when you take it apart, you've had a look at how it's going to go back together, and do it in the right order, do the torques in the right order. These caps will be probably, I haven't checked this one, but they'll be, do them all four, or do them crossways, a certain torque, then do them again a bit more, and again a bit more, and again a bit more, until you end up where you are. So that's just worth reading carefully, but it looks more intimidating than it is. Chances are you'll have to replace gaskets. Sometimes they're rubber gaskets for cam covers. This one, unfortunately, is a paper gasket, but it looks like it survived me removing it, so I will be reusing it because I am cheap. And if it leaks, well, that's my own problem. But yeah, that's cam timing. Now I'm going to just get down here so you can look at spark timing. So what we want to, the idea of this is this lobe here coming out of the shaft, which is off the engine, off the bottom end, is lobed, a bit like the cam lobes are, and as it turns, it opens, it just lifts these little arms, and that opens the points and lets them close again. And as these, and I've mentioned this in another video about when I did the little video for the moped ignition coil, as they open, that causes a spark, basically. And if you want to know more detail, you can watch that video. So what you want to do is make sure these open the correct amount at the correct time. For some bikes, it will be that you'll have to get a gauge to measure timing where the pistons are. So what you want is for the spark to go off at a certain amount of time before the piston reaches top dead center. You do get sort of tunes where the spark is after top dead center. It's not very common. It's not something you might come across very often at all. Normally it's advanced time, so the spark has time, or the flame has time to propagate properly across the top of the piston before top of the centre, so that all that pushing force is pushing the piston back down again. The faster the piston is moving, so the higher the revs, the less advanced or the more advanced you're going to want that timing to be. You want to have it earlier and earlier and earlier to give the flame time to sort of go outwards and propagate properly before the piston reaches top of the centre. Some really old bikes, the advance was done mechanically. It was part of the handlebars. Some like this one, there's a plate behind here, which has got some springs on it and some little sort of caps that move outwards. So the centrifugal force, the higher the speed, that goes out and that moves the plate slightly round, and that changes the timing. And this one, I think my 550 is quite similar. On modern bikes, it's done by computers. The higher the revs, the computer does the timing advance, but we're not talking about that now. We're talking this. So for this bike and for any points, the first thing you need to do is set the gap of the points, which is basically how far they open as this turns around. Now I'm just going to turn this, and you're going to just watch. You'll see the points. That's just fully open now. Yeah. As you go a bit further, you'll see it drops to closed. Right. So what we want to do is we want to go round and round and round until they're fully open. Let's keep going. There. So I've actually already set this one, annoyingly. Well, my feeler gauges. These are supposed to be set to 0.35. So you find the 0.35 feeler gauge. That'll be marked up. It's 0.35. There it is. And what you want is for the gauge to just drag as it goes in. It doesn't want to lift you don't want to see any significant lifting of the points. You just want it to just drag itself slightly in and out of there. So that's already been set. I'm just going to set. And the way you do that is, you see this little cover here. They'll all have one of these. There'll be a screw that comes undone and a plate that moves this piece further or closer from this side of the points. On this one, once you've got that slightly loosened off, and don't slacken off too far, just slightly loose, you need a flat driver in here. You can just boop, boop, and you can just turn that back and forth in there. But it'll be obvious, just on there, back and forth, and that will open or close that gap. So I'm just going to put the camera somewhere you can see all that, and while I adjust the other one. I'm just going to show you to set the points gap first. So we've already got the left hand ones.
Hi.
Hello, you alright?
Yeah.
Good, yeah, I'm just doing the points on this. Do you want any dinner? What would you like? What are we having?
I don't know. It's not glue.
Just because I've been gluing stuff.
Ugh.
So yeah, I'm just going to show you to set the points gap on this. We've set this side up already. I did it before the video, sorry. So, to set this side up, we just turn the points, or turn the shaft round until the points are fully open, which is there, I think. Yeah, that's there, fully open. And then we try and get your feeler gauge in. Let's start 0.35. And that is going to be too tight, I think, by the look of it. Yeah, much too tight. So, you might have to slacken this nut off. I think I can probably adjust one without on the big screwdriver. So we're just going to open it a touch. So to open it a touch, you just want to twist your screwdriver and it should just push. What it says. Oh, no, I want to do it loosen it up a little bit. Just ever so slightly loosen that off. Open it up to 35. Just drag in there, close up a little bit. Let's just drag in there, that's good. So that's that there. So that's your gap set. That's the first thing you got to do. The next thing to do is to set the timing itself, which I'll get a bit closer into, we'll see. Right, this is the next section to do. So for this bike, set the spark, it's got a firing mark. Now if you look in there, you can just see there's an F, it says 1-4, it's firing 1-4 and a little line. It's not quite lined up, is it, in there, but I'll just adjust that in a second. But what you want to do is you want to line up the timing mark, which is the top one, or rather the reference mark's top one, with the relevant mark on the bottom piece. So when we did the cam timing, it was the T for timing. For this one, it's F for firing, which is when we want it to fire. So once you've got that lined up, which we have, well, we will do when I do it properly. I'll show you. Next thing we want to do is set the points to open at the right time. So we've got them opening the right amount. We've got the valves at the top opening and closing at the right time. So what we can do is get the points to open at the correct time to set the spark off. So this one we need a little unit I showed you earlier, like the on-off Whistler. What we do is put one clip to earth. This bike just anywhere on the frame, so I've just clipped it. I'll just clip up here so you can see it on the frame, and then the other one on the positive side. So this tab here, so this one here. I'll do on there. So you've got the horrible buzzing noise. Turn it off for a second. And the way for this bike and for most bikes, you'll find that the firing mark, it'll be, you'll want the points to just be opening as, on the timing mark. So which means what you do is you just loosen off these, well, there might be 3, might be 4. Loosen off any screws holding the timing plate in. Let's try again. So you'll have your one on here on negative, one on your positive side. Machine's turned on. And what you want to do is, with that time mark lined up in there, you want to make it so this plate should be loosened to move, which it isn't. Right, and you just knock that off. I'll put it somewhere down here. Right, that's gone back on again. So that's why that opens it. So that opens it more, and that closes it. So we go back till we've got a noise. So that's closed. So we go back till it's just open there. So that's it. That's where you want that So that's when you want to start opening. So we tighten these three down again. Like any old bikes, these fucking screws are shit. They've all been rounded off over the years. So that's that one. Then, take a tool off. We'll turn our 180 degrees, so we've got the time mark for cylinders 2 and 3, which I can just see in here. There's 2 and 3. There's a fire in there. One there. And this time around, we adjust the little tiny plate. So, get a little Allen key, which I've got here somewhere. He says. Just loosen this off, this plate. We will attach our leads to our little thing. Again, same again, one to the body, earth somewhere, and one to the live side. Oh, find a way to clip it, it's the worst, it's going to get on there properly. Can we get it on there? Any good? Right, so let's not touch it a bit. So let's turn this plate round a bit, and it's similar to well, that is odd. Yeah, so while trying to film that second set of points, came across that this one is bent and it won't work properly. Why not focus, pleasing? So yeah, I've shown you how to do one side. The other side would have been the same if this wasn't fuckered. So sorry about that, but I hope that's plenty of information. And I'll hopefully get it going sooner rather than later.